How many prisons exist that are not on any public map, not federal, not state, but private? And what if I told you, one of them operated for years in the United States, without oversight, without records, and without mercy? Tonight, I want to ask you something. If a man disappears in prison, and no paperwork exists to prove he was ever there, did he really disappear, or was he erased? Before we begin, I want you to do something for me. Lock your door, lower the lights, and listen carefully, because this story isn't about monsters, it's about people, and what happens when no one is watching. The prison had no name, at least, not one the public knew. On paper, it was listed as a private correctional holding facility somewhere in rural America. No signs on the road, no nearby towns, just miles of dirt, forest, and silence. Guards called it the compound. The first thing I noticed wasn't the inmates, it was the silence. No shouting, no arguments, no noise, just footsteps, and the sound of metal doors closing behind me. The guard leaned in and whispered something I still remember clearly. He said, "Don't learn their names." I asked him why. He didn't answer. There were rules at this prison that didn't exist anywhere else. Rule 1, never ask why an inmate is here. Rule 2, never enter cell block C alone. Rule 3, if you hear screaming after midnight, document nothing. Let me ask you, what kind of prison needs a rule like that? On my second day, I reviewed the files, or at least what they called files. No court dates, no judge names, no sentencing documents, just photographs, mugshots of men who looked empty. Some had been there for 3 years, official charge, pending. Long pause, pending. For 3 years. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2:17 a.m., I heard it, screaming. Screaming, not angry screaming, not fighting. This was begging, grown men, crying, asking to be let out. Then silence, whisper, total silence. Let me ask you something. If you were locked in a place like that, and no one outside knew you existed, how long do you think it would take before you stopped screaming? The next morning, I checked the records. 3 inmates were gone, not transferred, not released, gone. Their files had been deleted, except for one thing. Their photographs were still there, and someone had written one word across all 3, completed. The private prison that was never meant to be found, Cell Block C. Cell Block C was never on the map. No signs, no labels, just a locked metal door at the end of a long concrete hallway. I noticed something strange. The farther we walked, the colder it got. Not air conditioning cold, basement cold, like the sun had never reached this place. I asked the escorting guard what was inside. Pause. He stopped walking, turned to me, and asked a question instead. Do you believe in rehabil? Let me ask you, why would a guard ask that? Before opening a prison door, the door opened slowly, the smell hit first, bleach, rust, and something sweet, too sweet, the lights flickered overhead, the cells were smaller than standard, no windows, no mirrors, no clocks, and the inmates, they didn't move, they just stood there, watching, no anger, no fear, just. I noticed something else, no names on the cells, only numbers, not inmate numbers, experiment numbers. I asked the guard what they meant. He said, they volunteered. Quiet pause, volunteered. For what? The private prison that was never meant to be found, cell block C was never on the map, no signs, no labels, just a locked metal door at the end of a long concrete hallway. I noticed something strange, the farther we walked, the colder it got. Not air conditioning cold, basement cold, like the sun had never reached this place. I asked the escorting guard what was inside. He stopped walking, turned to me, and asked a question instead. Do you believe in rehabilitation? Let me ask. Let me ask you, why would a guard ask that? Before opening a prison door, the door opened slowly, the smell hit first, bleach, rust, and something sweet, too sweet, the lights flickered overhead, the cells were smaller than standard, no windows, no mirrors, no clocks, and the inmates, they didn't move, they just stood there, watching, no anger, no fear, just. The man in cell C-17, one inmate broke the silence. He stepped closer to the bars. His voice was calm, too calm. He said, "You're new." I didn't answer. He leaned forward and whispered, "Don't stay after dark." What would you do if a prisoner warned you? Instead of the other way around, that night, the screaming came back, louder this time, closer, and mixed with something new. Mechanical sounds, like machines starting up, metal trays clanking, and a voice over the intercom. Calm, professional, subject C-17 ready for processing. Processing, not treatment, not transfer, processing. Let that word sit with you for a moment. The next morning, I followed the sound, down a stairwell I wasn't supposed to use, past a door marked authorized personnel only. I noticed something chilling. The walls changed, from concrete, to white, clean, medical. They wore lab coats, but no name tags, no licenses, no hospital logos. One of them looked at me and smiled. He said, "You're early." I told him I was lost. He said something I'll never forget, "No one ever is." On a metal table, I saw files, real files, thick, detailed, psychological profiles, sleep deprivation logs, fear response charts. These men weren't criminals, they were subjects, used to study how long the human mind survives when hope is removed. Let me ask you something honestly. If the government didn't want this information traced back to them, who do you think funded it? I finally understood the word. Completed didn't mean dead, it meant broken. The subject no longer reacted, no fear, no resistance, no identity. Once completed, they were disposed of. That night, the alarm sounded. Not a riot alarm, not an escape, a containment failure. Cell block C went dark, emergency lights turned red, and over the intercom, a different voice spoke. Not calm, not professional, terrified. They're not responding to commands. If you enjoy dark horror and real crime stories like this, subscribe now for more terrifying stories every week. Turn on notifications, because the next story might be closer than you think.